Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back, Flight Simmers. Welcome back to the channel. Right, another Vatsim tutorial, Vatsim video. As you're all aware, a good few weeks ago to a month ago, I made the jump and started flying on Vatsim. So we've gone from a complete, absolute noob. Well, we had a little bit of experience because we have got many years flight sim experience years ago, but we've just got back to it when 2024 come out. But the last few weeks, we've been on Vatsim, so we've learned more and more as we've gone along. Absolutely loved it. I can't fly without Vatsim now. It's the pinnacle of flight sim, and I've always said the same. But these are going to be my little tips. What helped me when I began my journey on Vatsim. It can be quite daunting to those that have never been on Vatsim and those that watch it and really want to do it but haven't got the confidence to do it. So this video is going to show you my tips, what I did, how I got started, and then we'll go through a full flight that I did, and I'll talk you through the procedures. So some little tips will be coming up in a sec. Okay, before we get into my actual points, my actual tips, there's about 5 little tips that I'd like to share with you. What made my flying, what helped me progress quickly and get a lot of experience in a short amount of time, is in Vatsim, if you didn't know, there's an observer mode. When you go to connect to the network with your V-Pilot, there's a little tick for observer mode. What that will do, you can go to anywhere, any airport, you can go to any place on the airport, but as long as you're in observer mode, no one can see you and no one can hear you, but you can still tune into the radios and have a listen to all the controllers and all the pilots. So what I'd do, I'd go down to Gatwick or Heathrow, I'd park up out the way, not that they can see me, I'd tune on to the Gatwick ground, and I'd have a listen. I'd listen to the pilots asking for their clearance. I'd listen to the ground giving them their instructions and their taxiways. I'd listen to the push and start. I'd listen to all the comms basically and just get more and more experience, get them familiarised with all the terminology and everything, the way they spoke and what procedures they do it in. And I gained a lot of knowledge from just listening on observer mode. So before we get into my little tips, once I've gone past observer mode, and now I want to fly myself on the network. But yeah, anybody can go on observer mode. They can't see you, they can't hear you. You've got nothing to lose. So yeah, do that before anything. Right, first one being only fly on Vatsim. I only went onto Vatsim and started my flying when I completely knew the aircraft I was flying. So, for instance, I fly the Phoenix A320, and until I could fly that very competently, I knew how to take off, land, go on a heading, go on an altitude, auto land. I could fly direct to a waypoint. Until I knew the MCDU, until I knew the aircraft fully, I didn't bother going on. But once I knew, because for example, a controller is going to give you vectors. He's going to tell you to go direct to a waypoint. He's going to tell you to turn heading right 050 degrees. He's going to tell you to go to flight level 260. Until I knew how to go to the altitude 26,000, until I knew how to go to the fly direct to a waypoint, until I knew how to turn on a heading, then yeah. So once you're fully confident and competent with that aircraft, that's when I would go on Vatsim. So learn the aircraft fully first, then go on Vatsim. Okay, next it's going to bring me to point number 2. Start your Vatsim career at quiet airports. For example, you're brand new to Vatsim, you're not going to go and start at Heathrow. You're not going to go to Manchester. You're not going to go to Gatwick. You're not going to go to an airport that's got a lot of traffic. There's a lot going on. The last thing you want to do is start causing problems for the controllers, for the other pilots. You don't want to start getting flustered and stressed out because you're causing a hindrance. Start at quiet airports. When I started, I'd start at Jersey. Very rarely a controller there, but I'd listen. I'd take everything in, and I'd fly to another quiet airport. For example, my two favourite destinations while I was practicing was Jersey to Liverpool, Liverpool to Jersey, and so on. So start at quiet airports. Don't get causing yourself some unnecessary stress and being a hindrance to others. Start at the quiet airports. I mean, now and again, maybe there'll be ground on them or a tower, but it's going to be quiet and they'll have a lot more time for you. You're not going to stress them out. You're not going to cause a pain. But yeah, start at quiet airports. Don't get going straight to bloody Heathrow. Straight to. Don't get put in the thick of it. So big tip there. Start at quiet airports where you listen, you get more experience, and you get more confident. So, like I say, I suggest Jersey, Echo Golf, Juliet, Juliet, to Liverpool, EGGP, Echo Golf, Golf, Papa, or vice versa. Great little flights to start with. Okay, number 3, write stuff down. Make sure you have a pen and paper at the ready. Always need a pen and paper. When you give when you speak to the ATC, you speak to a ground, you speak to a controller, you speak to the tower, you speak to a pro. Whoever you speak to, they're always going to give you instructions back, or they're going to give you instructions, and you always have to repeat them instructions. For example, a ground will give me all the taxiways to go to, so he's going to say, Easy 901, taxi to Alpha 3, hold point Alpha 3 via Papa, Alpha November, hold Alpha 3. So I'll be quickly making sure. So he's told me hold point Alpha 3, I'll be writing that down, and I'm going to taxi via Papa and Alpha November. So you've always got to have a pen and paper at the ready, just in case. I mean, I write everything a controller tells me. I'll pretty much write it down so I don't forget it, and I've got it there to read back. Taxi to holding point Alpha 3 via Papa and Alpha November, Easy 901. So pen and paper is always at the ready, because they're always going to give you instructions, or just so when you do your read back, you've got it there ready, and happy days. And another thing I'll point out in this bit right now, sometimes you'll come across a controller with a bad mic and you can hardly understand them. Just don't be scared to ask them to repeat the last instruction, you know. I didn't quite get that. Could you repeat the last instruction, Easy 901? Just sometimes you will come across a real bad mic, and don't be afraid to ask for them to read it back. But make sure you write stuff down. You're going to need to.
Good evening. It's a Barbie 1 Golf arrival into Gatwick. Squawk 7650.
Okay, next thing is going to be, if you have a second monitor, this is more suited to those with a second monitor. And once I added my second monitor, I found things a lot easier. Make sure taxiing can be a real challenge sometimes, depending on the airport. But having them charts is one thing. Make sure you've always got your taxi charts. You're familiar with the airport. You know the taxi charts. You've done your background. You've done before you do that flight. Have a little look where the taxi routes are, because you know which one the active's going to be. You know where you're going to park. You know where you're starting, what stand you're starting at. You know what the active runway is, so you can pretty much guide. You should have a rough idea of what taxiways the ground controllers or the controllers are going to give you. But what I found so much easier was with my second screen, and this is particularly with the Phoenix. With the Phoenix, you can open up your EFB on a browser. So it's localhost : 8083, I believe it is, and then I can open the Phoenix EFB in a browser on my second screen. Then I go to my Navigraph and I can zoom right into the chart. I can see my plane on the chart, so I can just follow it. So I can zoom right in. I can see all the taxiways, and it just makes life so much easier having that chart ready and seeing yourself on the chart. So if you have the Phoenix and you have a second screen, then yeah, get the browser up on get the EFB opened up in a browser on your second screen when you're doing your taxiing, and it will make life so much easier. If you not fortunate to have a second screen, or you don't fly the Phoenix, then just make sure you have your charts ready. Charts are a must. The amount of times I've heard somebody getting told off, please pay attention to the charts. Check your charts. Have the chart ready. There's plenty of places out there you can get the charts from. Obviously, the majority of us use Navigraph. So what I'll do is I'll know where because of my routes. I've just got my route. I know the active runways. 26 left. I know I'm at stand 105. So you can pretty much guess which taxiways the ground are going to give me. And same as the step previously, I've got me instruction. I've got my pad ready to write them down, and then I can see the taxiways. Just make sure you've got the chart. And if you've got the Phoenix, have a browser up. It'll make your life so much easier on a second screen with that browser. If you haven't got the browser, like I say, just have your charts at the ready. And happy days. Okay, this brings me on to number 6. It's going to be our last little point, our last little tip to get you started onto Vatsim. The things I did, the method I went through before I started getting pretty damn confident on Vatsim. Been flying on there for a few weeks, coming up to a month now, and the more and more you fly on the network, the more confident you get. I'd happily go and fly anywhere and speak to anybody. Not a problem. Where I was probably like you guys, a bit daunted, a bit nervous at the start, but no, it's the more and more you do, the easier it gets. It just all comes together. But on this one, it's going to be number 6, and that is going to be have your route visible. So when I plan my route with SimBrief, I'll always have my route visible. So when a controller, this is pretty much at the start. I don't really have to do it as much now, but I'll still have my route visible. When a controller would say to me, go direct to Elbus, then I'm thinking, Elbus? What did he just say? What did he just say? But if I have a little glance at my route, oh, he said Alvos. It's a waypoint. So I understand. It just helps having your route right there. Elbos, Alvos. It sounded to me when I first started flying Elbus, but he was saying Elvos. So I have my route there. Another one was being the Lambourne 1 Mike departure. Or was it arrival? I think that's a departure. But having my route right there to have a little glance over at for when they're telling me to go to direct to a waypoint or what departure or arrival I'm going on, it helps. So a little tip, number 6, have your route there to have a little glance on when they're telling you waypoints, SIDS, stars, etc. But we're going to come on to a second part of the video where I'm going to go through a flight with you, a flight I did, and I'm going to talk you through what I'm saying, what I expect, what the tower's going to say to me, what the ground's going to say to me, what you're going to say back. Just get you a little more familiarised with the procedures. Right, I hope the tips have helped, and get ready for the second part coming up.